So let's see how far I can go before I have to, the faxes come through and I have to go to a job in the freezing cold. Or until Betty crashes through the door, like she's done many times before. And all of our dogs have so many names. And then there's dogs outside that bark. I mean, right outside my window, it's like, I never do that. When, past like 10 o'clock at night, dogs come inside. I don't understand people do it. So, getting to comments, or questions. Let me see all these comments. Oh, there's more. I thought it was, first of all, Banjo 2 says, what's your opinion on Western Rite Orthodoxy that follows the Anglican style? This is what I saw as the first, is the only question. I noticed there's 3. I'll just go in this order. I just had that cursory view on it, but I want to stress that that's not, I don't want to in any way, shape, matter, or form discourage people from attending a fully Orthodox church. It doesn't matter. I would have reservations about that. Okay, I believe I can answer both of these. Do you see it in the same way as Latin Rite, or do you think it's legitimate since the Anglicans lost their apostolic lineage a long time ago? These tie into each other. The Western Rite, again, since it had Augustine and Anselm and Aquinas and these changes, how do you say, well, what is the version that was practiced that was pure? Since we know there was a pure form, and what are the additions? Obviously, there's 3-dimensional statues. There's some problematic things in here. As for Anglicans, this is based off of Henry VIII and compromise between the Anglo-Catholics and the Calvinists. Their even style. So, if you look at the time from Henry VIII split until the form of the 39 articles that are used in the Book of Common Prayer, I think it was something like 1789 or something is the date of the finalization of the modern form of the Book of Common Prayer. So, yeah, that's exactly, I think that sums it up. I'm guessing these are the same sentiments as you have, because of the way you phrase the questions. But yeah, I guess that would be the way to answer that. Again, if you are going to a Western Rite Orthodox church, these are just my concerns about it, but not, I would never try to say any condemnation at all. If you look on Google Images on Orthodox icons of Augustine, every single one of them he is with a halo. IIR, all people are depicted with halos, are saints in the church. This is true. This is true. Except for the fact that there's places like monastery icons, which make icons of Western saints, and that this has become a fad since the 60s and 70s St. Catherine Drexel, it used to be down the street from me, it moved, had an icon of St. Catherine Drexel. So she's not an Orthodox saint. So just because there's images, hey, there might be one of Tertullian out there. They have things like of Gandhi. There's Saint Francis of Assisi is sold at Come and See Icons, and he's not an affirmed saint in the Eastern Orthodox Church, so it's that would be relegated to, I believe, Theologomen, just private devotions. So I don't take that as something very, very convincing, or even or definitely not authoritative or even valid. That I don't see that. I can understand your question, but it's really not. Where is there a reputable, in communion, church website that has Orthodox iconographers that have ever depicted Augustine? Or where is a single Orthodox church named St. Augustine? That would be the question. I'm not quite sure who you're talking about when you make the broad, sweeping generalization that all Orthodox know that Augustine is not a saint. Nearly every Orthodox person I know believes he is so, and I am an Orthodox Christian. Broad, general, sweeping. I didn't mean this in an insulting manner. I was just kind of shocked. Yeah, people could think, Tertullian or Origen were saints, or, these types of things. The Orthodox that I know, it's pretty clear, and this is taught in catechism class. You'll notice that, where are the readings of the quotings of Aquinas, or not Aquinas, of Augustine, or people who built off of Augustine, like John Cassian? John Cassian learned with the Church Fathers, or not Church Fathers, Desert Fathers, but nobody looks to him. Even though, yeah, it's things you can read them, but the differences with Orthodoxy, especially addressing the issue of looking at the West and saying, well, what can we affirm, and what do we have to reject, and where's the root of this? It's almost always an Augustinian teaching. Again, this is where most of the problems have arisen from, is Augustine, who, probably at least half the Orthodox that I talked to on here, believe that he was a Manichaean agent, that he was never a Christian. Which is something that at first I was like, yeah, I can see that, but I don't agree with it. Now, I won't confirm that I believe that, but I think it's highly likely that he was a Manichaean, especially if you look at the date of his conversion to the date of outlawing Manichaeanism, and the things that he brought in, like original sin, which is probably more profound than Petrine primacy or even the filioque, and more damaging, which he got from the Manichaeans. He didn't drop that. And this predestination idea. And when people start using Pelagius or throwing Pelagius around, no, we know that through Augustine. Now, was Augustine disingenuous? Did he build straw mans? Yeah, okay, read Confessions. It's very philosophical and intact, and very, there's core things that are addressed in there. But he's going along Platonic lines. He's not following what has been revealed. He's the innovator in the church. Nobody in the East talked about predestination. No one. He was the one to bring it up, and he was in the West. It was in Latin North Africa, and that is what took hold of the church until the Germans took hold of the church, meaning the church in Rome, or the church that had apostolic succession from Rome, because sometimes it was in Ravenna. For a while it was in France. But again, it's very uncommon to think that Augustine, everybody pretty much know, okay, I've known Orthodox that affirm original sin, and penal substitution. So going by, I would say all Orthodox know that original sin is a bad idea and the filioque are bad ideas. But there's some people that just they're not that interested, and they just that lacks. So by going by exceptions or uneducated people, I think that's baseless. Not to I don't mean this again. I don't want this banjo to take this in an insulting way at all. I don't mean this to be insulting, but Augustine is the font of Western heresy. That's pretty blatant in Orthodox teaching. Again, predestination and original sin. These are only a few. I'm not going to go through all of them. And even his Platonism is worrisome, because he's not just using a language of Platonists to get through to people. He's actually building off of it, and it's like, wait a minute, hold on. And then Cattle is Ruth, a Western Rite monk visited our church this summer. He was the most relaxed and interesting person to talk to. He was so unassuming yet fun, kind but strong and gentle, all at the same time. Fantastic. Again, there are people that go to Western Rite churches and probably most, if not all, that are far better than me, far more patient, far more gentle, far more, well, far more unassuming or whatever, or fun. And yeah, those are, I just talked about the concerns. I don't want anybody to think that I'm ever speaking bad against a tradition like that. It's just concerns that I have. But Augustine, he's again, this is like addressing the things that Gedep says about the church. These misplaced quotes, or by church fathers, or even by church doctors in the Roman Catholic, or even when Aquinas talks about, like the word being the thought and proceeding being speaking. He said this as a metaphor, as we can see this, but we can't say this. We can see it as this metaphor, and then he takes it as this is the true thing. God has a mind, almost like a body, almost like a thing, and it's misplaced, or these quotes that are strung together that alone I wouldn't have any concern for, but stacked on top of each other like these piles, that change this, therefore this, therefore this. It concerns me a great deal, what he says about that. But just looking up images of Augustine, you can find Gandhi and Che Guevara and Karl Marx made as icons. Monastery icons is a Hindu cult. I'm not saying anything controversial. They are a Hindu cult in the guise of Monophysitism, also accepting Western saints that make icons. And they're, again, that's not, I don't know if this person's trying, well, I won't take it as anything hostile or whatever. This is my brother in Orthodoxy. But again, that would be something. I mean, that I would think every Orthodox would know, is to beware of unorthodox, non-canonical icons. Maybe you meant this as no, we didn't mean it as a throwaway line. This was actually one independent comment. Banjo 2, I have nothing against you. I don't want any hostility or anything like that, but Augustine is the fount of many heresies, and the most we can say about him is that he's blessed. That's what Chrysostom said, and the Orthodox Church capped it and said he's blessed Augustine, not Saint Augustine. If you in your personal devotion want to call him that, I have nothing against it, but the Orthodox Church has capped it at blessed, not saint, because he is the font of so many heresies. And many people are concerned that he never became a Christian, that he was a Manichaean, trying to infiltrate Christianity with Manichaean beliefs since it was outlawed. It's legitimate since the Anglicans lost their apostolic lineage a long time ago. These tie into each other. The Western Rite, again, since it had Augustine and Anselm and Aquinas and these changes, how do you say, well, what is the version that was practiced that was pure, since we know there was a pure form, and what are the additions? Obviously, there's three-dimensional statues. There's some problematic things in here. As for so let's see how far I can go before I have to, the faxes come through and I have to go to a job in the freezing cold, or until Betty crashes through the door, like she's done many times before. And all of our dogs have so many names. And then there's dogs outside that bark. I mean, right outside my window. It's like, I never do that. When past like 10 o'clock at night, dogs, Anglicans. This is based off of Henry VIII and compromise between the Anglo-Catholics and the Calvinists. Their even style. So if you look at the time from Henry VIII split until the form of the 39 articles that are used in the Book of Common Prayer, I think it was something like 1789 or something is the date of the finalization of the modern form of the Book of Common Prayer. So, yeah, cursory view on it, but I want to stress that that's not, I don't want to in any way, shape, matter, or form discourage people from attending a fully Orthodox church. It doesn't matter. I would have reservations about that. Well, Okay, I believe I can answer both of these. Do you see it in the same way as Latin Rite, or do you think come inside? I don't, I understand people do. So, getting the comments or questions. Let me see all these comments. Oh, there's more. I thought it was. First of all, Banjo 2 says, "What's your opinion on Western Rite Orthodoxy that follows the Anglican style?" This is what I saw as the first. Is the only question. I noticed there's three. I'll just go in this order. I again, I just had that